Good morning, everyone. This is Coach Eversole, and what I'm going to be doing here is going to give you a quick overview of what we covered in our 24th preseason meeting, which I held with our players after school yesterday, which was Thursday, October 24th. First thing we covered were the list of things that they need to do in order to play basketball this season. Number one is they must have a physical on file with an online registration. Okay, and I have a lot of questions on where do I go to do this? How do I do this? Well, the online registration piece, what you need to do is go to Fairfield Union High School, and you can do this by opening Google browser, search Fairfield Union High School, and it'll take you right to the high school's main page. You click on it, and you don't have to click on any of the tabs of Fairfield Union, the high school, or anything like that. All you do is just go to the bottom, and right here is a big tab which is online student registration. You click on this, and then depending if you have logged in to register before, likely chances you have, you just go to here to one portal login and go ahead and fill out the registration for basketball. Okay, if you have not logged in here before, there's create an account. There's also help links on I forgot my login, forgot my credentials, forgot my password, forgot my PIN. Should be able to help you through that process. When it comes to registration, two things you need to remember is number one, they do need to have it into the school so they can put it onto the online system. I do believe there is a way you can put it on here yourself. However, I would just make sure to bring in a hard copy to Deanna Throckmorton and she'll upload it for you. And thing number two is if you do have a physical on file, please make sure it's up to date. Physicals are good for 1 year, and if you had your son take a physical last November, it's going to be no longer valid once the season starts. It may be good for fall sports season, but come that 1 year date, it will no longer be valid, and they'll be ineligible until they get a physical on file. But the athletes are not able to practice, participate, do anything without these two things done. That's an absolute must. Okay. Next thing we talked about was the players for high school must all turn in an application. We make them turn in an application just like it was a job interview. So what the application looks like something like this, and they should have received one of these yesterday at the meeting. If they missed any of the materials at the meeting, all of them are available at the high school main office. I left copies there. So all this is basic info, and then on the back of it there is a section for them to put in their class schedule. We like to know where they are throughout the day, their teacher, and their first term grade, the first period grade. There's some comments here in case there should be something that happens. Say, I missed a lot of school the first 9 weeks because there was a family emergency, whatever. And then the last piece is ask them about their individual goals for the season and how would they react if they should not happen to receive the playing time they want, play at the level they want. If you're not giving 100%, how should we coach you? How do you deal with criticism? And what we ask from players is to be honest with this. This is always where we go to when we first try to coach a player up, is their own opinions on how they best handle things, as well as other techniques that we have in coaching. A couple important dates that you need to have in mind. Number one, and I know I have this a little out of order, right here, the winter sports meeting is November 4th at 7 p.m. So if your son did not play a fall sport, you did not attend that OSHA meeting in the fall with Mr. Clark giving that, you must attend November 4th at 7 p.m. Okay? Following that meeting at 7:30 in the auditorium, I will be holding a parent meeting for all parents who have boys that are going to be playing basketball. So please make sure that you attend that. I'll be covering stuff such as busing schedule, procedures for game nights, etc., etc. And then finally, once team selections have been made, these meetings have been done, there will be a pay to play for high school players of $50. We covered expectations with the boys during the meeting, and I kind of list my expectations. I'm not a big rules person, but I basically boil this down into three things, and you can read through these expectations we have for our players. Basically, three things that they need to know are: number one, make sure they communicate all issues with the coaching staff, whether that is family issues that cause them to miss stuff or be late, grade issues, issues with their classmates, issues with players on the team. Make sure they communicate those to the coaching staff. Thing number two is be on time and be present. Okay, we handed them out yesterday a practice schedule for November and December, so that should be you should have that there at home. There are also extra copies in the main office if you did not receive one. And finally, the last thing is don't do anything that is detrimental to yourself or the team. So acting up in class, being involved with illegal drugs, tobacco, alcohol, bullying, poor grades, all of those are stuff that we do not condone and we do not allow. Those are not our expectations. And finally, any failure to meet these expectations above can lead to the loss of playing time, removal from the team, or other disciplinary measures. And then I also add in here, they just need to remember, as being part of the team through all team events and activities, they are also held to the student conduct, code of student conduct, which is in their handbook they received at the beginning of the year. Okay, a couple things to remember we stress to our players is priorities. Number one is family. Okay, family comes first, then school and grades, and then basketball. And the big thing we try to stress to them on this is as long as they keep these priorities, we are going to have a very successful season. We're going to have a lot of fun, and they're going to receive the most positive experience out of being a high school basketball player. The things where I see kids get in trouble is when priorities creep in above these, like above school is like girlfriend or buddies or other things. We want to just keep those priorities in order. Three things to communicate. Number one is communicate. We already stressed that. Number two, coaches are here for you. And then number three, we stress a lot about improvement in the off season. And I'm a big believer that the basketball and the weight room don't lie. We tell our players all the time, don't tell us about how much work you put in. Show us how much work you put in. Because if you put in a lot of work in the weight room, it's going to show. If you put in a lot of work with the basketball, it's going to show. So don't talk about it, be about it. And then lastly over here are 4 pillars. These are what we build our program on, and these are 4 things that be a must if you're going to be a high school varsity player for us someday. Be able to defend, rebound, take care of the basketball, and play with max effort. Okay, we already covered the application, but these are going to be due the first day of practice. So I encourage the kids to take very careful care of these. It's just like a job application. You want it turned in crisp and neat, not folded and crinkled. We want it to be, you're trying out for a team, you're practicing turning in an application. If they would happen to get a job someday where they need an application, we want them to have practiced that. And that's part of the reason why we do these applications. Things that we want them to remember is to be honest, take their time, and write neatly on these applications. Okay, so for the first day of practice and tryouts will be November 1st, Friday. What we do for practice was we have the junior varsity and varsity practice together, and freshmen will practice at a separate time. So if your son is a freshman in high school, they will go to the freshman practice the first day at 5 to 7 p.m. If they are a sophomore, junior, or senior, they'll go to this practice 5 to 7 p.m. in the high school. Now, there is a chance that we may have some freshmen come to JV varsity practice for the first day just to help us balance out numbers, but we don't make selections of who's on a JV team, who's on the freshman team, who's going to be splitting time between teams until team selections. And we plan on making team selections November 5th. That's preliminary right now. That could change, but as of right now, we plan on doing that November 5th. And all boys who come out and try out for the team will receive exit interviews. So at the end of practice November 5th, we'll sit down each and every one of them, whether they made the team or not, kind of give them some feedback, what we've seen over the first couple practices, and then explain why they made the team, why they didn't make the team, etc. The one thing about the first day of practice is I do know that this is the last day for football. So if your son is a football player, they're obviously not expected to be at practice. They have a game that night. The next day, however, November 2nd, we are not requiring football players to practice. However, we are requiring them to be there. And the reason why is we do a lot of teaching in the first couple days. We want them to just be there and be able to absorb learning. If they feel like they're fresh and ready and they want to practice, they're more than welcome to practice. But they're not required to practice that first day. The following Monday, November 4th, they will be required to practice if they want to make the team. They'll get 2 days worth of evaluations, and then we'll make selections. And things we consider when we're doing team selections, we check grades, we read through their applications, we do a peer evaluation, we condition them and evaluate them, we have them lift and evaluate them, and we do an on-court evaluation. Okay, shoes for the basketball season. There's obviously a lot of different basketball shoes out there. What we tell players is make sure that the base color of the shoe is either black or white. It can have trim of other colors around, but we just can't have a mishmash of a bunch of shoes of like blue, green, purple, pink, red. And what I tell players is if you have a question on, is this shoe going to be a team shoe or is this shoe going to fly with Coach Eversole, take a picture and send it to me or one of my coaching staff. We're pretty lenient about it, but the big thing is we just don't want a rainbow colored shoes out there where we don't look as a team. We can have different color shoes and still be pretty uniform. And then the other thing, varsity players will be required to have ankle braces for practices and games. So if your son believes he's going to be a varsity player, it may be good to go ahead and purchase those. And then the final thing we covered, and this is something that we did last season for our team. We did not have players actually sign this during this meeting, but this is something I read to them because I think it pretty much embodies what we want players to be about. By signing below, I'm committing to being a full-time member of this team. I believe in what we stand for and am willing to sacrifice for myself for the betterment of the team. I will pursue perfection in my role daily and focus on the things that are in my control. I will work to build trust with my fellow players and coaches, and I want to be held accountable when I fail to meet our standards. I will learn from my failures and not blame, complain, or make excuses. I'm a Falcon basketball player, and this is what I stand for. So, once again, what we're trying to do here is build a team. Everyone's going to have a different role. Some people's roles are going to be different than others, but everyone's role will be important. Hope you found this meeting informational. If you have any questions, you can always email me. I don't have it on this page, but it's just my full name, Alex, A-L-E-X, Eversole, E-V-E-R-S-O-L-E, at fairfieldunion.org, as well as my email is in the directory there with Fairfield Union High School. Like I said, any of the documents that you may be wondering about, practice schedule, application, notes from this meeting, game schedule, are all in the high school office. Have your son pick those up. And like I said, please, please, please get those registrations and physicals on file as soon as possible. Thank you.